Hi, I'm Mark Baber. I'm the Technical Marketing Manager here in the UK and Ireland for Sony's photo channel. Now, I haven't just got one lens to review in this video, I've got three, and I've managed to get my hands on early samples of the following three lenses. First up, it's the 24mm f2.8. Secondly, it's the f2.5 40mm. And finally, the 50mm f2.5 from Sony. These are standard G lenses. Now, the three things they've got in common are build quality, image quality, and overall handling is superb for these small, compact lenses. And when you combine these lenses with a alpha body like an A7C, it's a perfect street photography combination. Let's have a closer look at how these lenses can perform. The 24 f2.8, the 40 f2.5 and the 50 f2.5 are ultra compact prime lenses from Sony. It now forms part of the E-mount strategy, which contains 63 native lenses, that's 43 full frame lenses and 20 APS-C lenses. All our lenses fit on the APS-C and full frame cameras. It also applies to our cinema line of cameras as well, so whether it's stills or movies, you can use the full range of lenses on all of these bodies. And that's if you're an amateur or a professional within the system. The 24mm has 7 groups and 8 elements with aspherical lenses delivering high resolution. It has ED glass and internal focusing, and the ED glass suppresses any chromatic aberration. You'll find 9 groups and 9 elements on the 40mm, again with aspherical lenses and internal focusing. And on the 50mm you also have 9 groups and 9 elements with aspherical lenses plus internal focusing and the ED glass to reduce chromatic aberration. The lenses have a focus ring, aperture click control, a focus hold button and a focus mode switch. The exterior is made from aluminium and also is the hood. The iris ring, the focal length markings and the logo have been engraved on the lens. I feel this gives a really good finish and feel to the quality of the lenses. Now, when we compare this to the 50mm f1.8, this lens is 59.5mm long and weighs 186 grams. The 50mm f2.5 weighs 174 grams, and as you can see from the size, it's a lot smaller. Now again, if you look at the 50mm f1.4 Zeiss, it's 108mm long and weighs 778 grams. The 24mm f2.8 weighs 162 grams. The 40mm f2.5 weighs 173 grams. The 50mm f2.5 weighs 174 grams. They all have quite a few things in common, and it's really based around the image quality, the lightweightness of it, and also the build quality, and they're really easy, small and light to put onto the camera body, and in this instance we use the A7C. Now, all three lenses have high resolution and incredible bokeh for the price point and for the size and weight of these lenses. All three lenses are dust and moisture resistant, they have internal focus and they're all fast, precise and have quiet autofocus. They're excellent for tracking AF and also for moving objects, so perfect for stills and also movies. So we've got some content now from each lens, and this is the 24mm. This shows you the wide angle. We're focusing on the other lenses in a box, and this is the 50mm lens we're zooming into. You can see the sharpness around the detail of the focus ring and the labeling of the focal length as well. Really, really sharp. The 40mm, you can see here, very shallow depth of field. This is my wife working in her office, and this is a plant we're focusing on in the foreground. 40mm, again, similar to the 24. Very sharp indeed, but with that really creative background, very blurred out, but retaining the detail at the front. 40mm again, we're focusing on the other lenses, and we're going to look at the detail in the foreground again of the 40mm, and you can see here on the focus ring and the numbers on the lens, they're very, very sharp indeed. So again, the 40mm is so sharp in the center. again retaining that shallow depth of field. We're now focusing on the second lens, and again, as we've shifted the focus further into the picture, you can see here that the level of detail and the sharpness is again very sharp indeed. Now this final image of the 40mm lens, we're focusing on the middle of the subject, which is the plants. You've got a shallow depth of field at the rear and at the front, but the sharpness of the center of the picture is sharp indeed, and I'm really pleased with the detail. Now we're using the 50mm in this example. This is my dog, and we're using animal eye autofocus as a setup in the camera, and we're going to zoom straight into the eye. Now no editing on this at all, this is straight out of camera, and as you can see here, we're zooming right in to see the level of detail on the eye, the moisture around the eye, and the fur as well. 50mm sharpness is excellent. Now we've narrowed the aperture a little bit down to I think around f3.5 just to get a little bit more sharpness on the clock on the wall here, but we're looking at the detail of the screw that I've focused on here and to see how far we can actually zoom in. So the 50mm again, very sharp in the center, some really good level of detail, and we push it even further on the editing software, but straight out of camera. From a top-down perspective of this plant and stamp, again the 50mm, really good shallow depth of field around the outside, but the center sharpness is excellent. Now the next three images are of the 24, 40 and 50. First up is the 24mm. You can see a nice wide angle. We're then going to zoom into the daffodil here, and we're going to look at the sharpness around the outside of the flower, not the middle, because in the 40mm and the 50mm we get even more detail. This is the 40mm, and again the same subject matter. We're zooming in, and now we're seeing a little bit more sharpness in the center, around the edge and in the center of the daffodil. And now this is the 50mm. Now I've got some external light here because it was getting dark at the time, and you can see that the outside of the daffodil is softer, but the inside is absolutely sharp, and that's the 50mm, which I'd recommend for macro. Now this was an image just taken by accident. The lenses are out of focus obviously, but I was looking at the level of detail. This is the 50mm again of the wood in the table. Now we zoom right in here, I think this is around 300%, but I've started to see detail that I can't see with the naked eye. Spots of paint, the detail in the wood. So the detail, the level of detail on the 50mm lens is really sharp indeed when you're blowing things up. And again, this is now with the 40mm lens, and just again to show you the level of detail in this lens around the screw that's in the back of the lens here, you can see zooming into 200-300%, the level of detail on the 40mm lens is extremely sharp. So that's the 24mm, the 40mm and the 50mm brand new G standard lenses from Sony. Now the image quality, as you've seen, is superb, but I have to say again that the build quality and the handling of these really small compact lenses is superb to use, especially when you're using it with, say, a smaller alpha body like the A7C. So I highly recommend these lenses for street photography, portraiture, landscape, in fact all types of photography, including video as well.